Ahoy there, fellow travelers. Welcome to E-Travels with E-Trules, a personal and literary podcast of travel adventures and misadventures from around the world. This is Eric Trules, and thanks for listening. Welcome back to E-Travels with E-Trules, Behind the Scenes. I'm Eric Trules, and today I'll be talking with my production team, Amanda Yamate, my original music composer, and with Alysha Bermudez, my sound designer, about all things podcast and travel. But before I get started, I'd like to give another shout-out to all my new subscribers on iTunes, where the podcast is still live. Here's one of my favorite comments. Quote, "This podcast is extremely well produced with audio that excites and amuses. I love the concept of unique, personal, and engaging travel stories from Trules' real-life experiences, combined with audioscapes that bring listeners directly into the stories." That's by listener Speedway CJ, who I don't know, but that's part of the joy of podcasting, isn't it? And here's another one from Moondog Mulv. Quote, "Trules is a unique, funny, and intelligent guide through the world of travel, life, and love." Very nice, Moondog. Thanks to Speedway CJ and Moondog Mulv and the rest of my new subscribers. I really appreciate your signing up for the podcast and taking the time to rate and review it. If you're listening out there in podcast land, please do the same and tell your friends. Okay, so now for some more behind the scenes, where I'll be talking with my collaborators, my friends, my colleagues, and my listeners and fellow travelers, and hopefully with my new listeners, fellow podcasters, creators, and travelers who I haven't met yet, about the show, about their lives, and about their travels around our big, beautiful, and problematic planet. Amanda Yamate is a music scoring student at Cal State Northridge, and Alysha Bermudez, my sound designer, is here at USC in the sound design program. I found them both luckily and oddly, the way life happens while you're waiting for your plans to work out. And they've been an integral part of creating the podcast. Welcome, Amanda.
Thanks, Trules.
And welcome, Alysha.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Let's talk about the process of creating these travel stories, which for me is both interesting and transformative, because I've done these stories, and I know a lot of these stories for a really long time. I've been blogging about them on a WordPress blog, and I've been performing them out loud in front of audiences. And sometimes I'm just really tired of my own voice, and they seem so small and just about me and my stuff. But suddenly, with sound design and original music, wow, they really become transformative. As I said, they transport you to the place of the stories, and it's like a trip. And it's a vicarious travel opportunity for the listeners out in podcast land. And it's also a way to reflect and resonate with your own travels if you've been an experienced traveler. So that's a little long-winded, but what's it been like to hear the stories, and then what's the job like? How did it evolve? Amanda, I'll start with you from the music composing side.
Yeah. This job has required a lot of learning, but it's been really fun to learn about all these cultures' music. And I just feel like much more of a versatile composer after doing all these episodes with you. And my goal while making the music is to accurately depict the country that you're in and really nail the culture's music. So if someone from that culture heard the music that I'm making, they would think that someone from that country wrote it.
I think you've done a really good job with that. When I listen to the Balinese Gamelon music, I don't know how you did that. It sounds like Balinese Gamelon music. And and the Latino music from Echo Park, and the South American music from Ecuador. You've done a really good job, and so it's been thrilling and exciting for me to discover the music. And the biggest surprise and delight for me has been just a couple of weeks ago, where you told me, I know what kind of music you like. So she's very confident. You're very confident in bringing in stuff that you think will work in the podcast because you think you know my taste.
Haven't you spent like hours in research, and now with your world music class or something, that it was just so much easier for you now since you've already been all around the world with the music that we've been doing?
Yes, Trules has taken us all around the world, and this semester I took a world music class and pretty much knew all of the music already. So it's real world experience. But the Balinese Gamelon music was probably the hardest thing to recreate. That was so difficult. But I'm glad you like it.
It sounds just like the real thing. Every time the story arrives, either about my Indonesian wife or my Indonesian son, and the mallets come on in those wooden, however you created it, it sounds like the real thing. So I think you've done a really good job, and maybe you'll be teaching the world music class in a few years.
That would be awesome.
What does sound design mean on a podcast like this, Alysha?
Basically to just emphasize your words and Amanda's composition, because she's already placing you in that city or country. So I'm just doing like what you would be hearing in an instance, like if you're on a track, so you'll be hearing trains and all these birds, and she'll be there helping with the journey, with the music composition.
It's really fun to hear the taxi honks and the forest sounds and the Chinese atmosphere wherever we go. And I know you work independently, but then mixing it together is like podcast magic.
Yeah, I think my favorite one that we've done is the Echo Park one. Because I just knew it so well, because we all live in LA, so it's easier to like hearing some crazy chickens or like random dogs at night. Like, yeah, that sounds about right.
I love the part I love that Echo Park soundscape, because you did put in the roosters. Instead of just hearing about the roosters, you hear the roosters, and we try to place them in just a place to get a laugh. And then there's the gunshots and the fireworks, which are so similar, but if you really listen, you can hear the difference between the gunshots and the fireworks.
And the construction.
Oh,
the construction will really ignite that irritation in you.
And our producer, Harry, when he came in, said, it looks like we have fun doing it. I hear you laughing a lot together.
It is fun.
Yeah, like Alysha and my job, we do it alone a lot. And it's like when we come together, I feel like we actually know a lot of the same knowledge, and like it's just nice to laugh with someone about like some mistake we made or some like wall we hit.
Instead of like our cats. Like, oh, that was funny. Yeah, you're not laughing. Okay, you're a cat. I got it.
Yeah, exactly.
Alysha, I know you knew something about podcasting before you started working in this, and you were sort of a fan. And I knew so little about it, and I don't know what Amanda knew about listening to podcasts or the world of podcasts.
I don't say I knew a lot. I was an avid listener to podcasts. I used to watch YouTube a lot. So from YouTube, those creators went into podcasting, and I can see how the production value went up after each season. Soon it was just them in their apartment. Soon enough, they had like this whole gear of everything because they actually, with live recording their voices, they actually did a camera shot too with them interviewing people because they did fun games afterward. So like I can see the production value.
What people have always commented on immediately upon hearing our even initial episode is the off-the-charts production value. And that's due to you guys. I guess a lot of people don't have a sound effects library like USC does, and I guess they don't have equipment like the school has. So I've been lucky to parlay my 30 years teaching here into being able to use the sound studio. Of course, I'm a little annoyed that they don't say the content is off the charts, but maybe
But
they
your
take that
idea was, even though we have nice equipment, your initial idea was to have music and sound effects. So you did that. You brought that to life. That's part of the content.
Thanks for that. I think I have a really natural editor's ear for sound and music and timing. It has to do with the theatrical rhythm of telling a story. So sometimes you guys will bring in an earlier cut or version, and it's always about knowing exactly where the music starts or where the sound effect comes in, not on the word, but right after the word. And that's a really interesting rhythm to know, feel, and I think learn.
I feel like my rhythm has gotten better, like working with you. And that'll probably translate to film and like other projects that I do, just participating in telling stories.
And you're studying film scoring, and you have worked a little in the film biz, yeah?
A little.
And at USC, you've scored student films, and that's how I found you, through the payroll system that my financial administrator said, well, here's somebody who scored for the USC Film School. I said, okay. What's her name?
That was a really random email. My friends are like, how did you get that job? I'm like, a USC professor just directly emailed me. And they're like, why doesn't that happen to me? I don't know. It was fate.
And that was Crystal Balthrop in the financial office who found your name and just forwarded it to me. It was just synchronicity. Good luck, like meeting Harry Duran at the LA Podcast Festival. And then Phil Allen at the School of Dramatic Arts, where he's head of the sound design program, assigned his students to my podcast. And Alysha Bermudez was the survivor of those assignees.
Of the
three. Yeah, and here we all are. What inspires you each as a sound designer and as a music composer?
For this specific project, really the places that you're in inspire me. Like, say you're in China. I go and first I research traditional Chinese music, modern Chinese music, and like try to absorb those sounds and use those sounds to tell your story.
Yeah, really similar to Amanda. So I usually watch like a film so I can gather like the experience, since I can't just travel there real quick, so I can like see what it sounds like. I do that, and it really inspires me to what I want to put and ideas I want to put into the story.
You know, for a solo performer, me, what I've done most of my life, it's really a gift at this point in my life to be able to learn how to collaborate better than I've ever done before, and to be surprised by what you're bringing in, and usually delighted. I guess Amanda's right that she knows what I like. I don't know how one does that. Not that I am not obvious in most of my likes and ideas. I probably am. But it's cool to have a collaborator who you can work with. And like Scorsese has worked with the same editor for his whole film career. And you create a family in a film or creative job, and that's what we are right now, a little family of podcasters. Who inspires you in your work, each of you?
For this project or just in general?
I guess in film composing, film scoring, or music making, or rap music.
Do you want to go first?
I guess it's kind of two parts. When I was a child, I was in love with Star Wars. So, like, all the sound effects went into it was beyond crazy. And just how they made a lightsaber sound, that was pretty cool. So he basically waved it over some TV noise, and he captured that, then waved it. He interfered with another microphone to make that weird whooshing sound. I'm like, that is so cool. I would like to do that. So I got really into that. Then also just the culture around me. This listening, if you just sit down and listen to what's happening, there's so much depth of what the city is about, too.
It's really a lovely, terrific, and beautiful quality you have that you like to listen. I know that you resisted doing this interview because you don't like to talk too much and about yourself. But I hope the audience is interested in the making of process and behind the scenes, and speaking to someone who hears sounds everywhere and someone who makes music right out of thin air from other cultures. Who inspires you, Amanda?
In film composing, I really love Michael Giacchino. I love John Williams, of course. Yeah. He's the dude. But like outside of that, jazz has really like set a foundation for me to understand music. Just understanding jazz theory and playing jazz piano, learning from the greats like Duke Ellington and like Miles Davis. It really set a foundation for me to write harmony. I don't know if I'm getting too technical, but yeah. And then like in songwriting, even just like Stevie Wonder and his harmony really inspires me. So, and also there's like a scene in LA of like jazz musicians that are really amazing that I've connected with, that are older than me and are really generous with their knowledge of music, and they're openly like passing that down. So I don't know, I draw inspiration from so many places musically that it's like hard to say where exactly I do, but all of that, my whole lifetime of musical experience I draw from.
But you didn't know this about me because I haven't shared it, but I'm a considerable jazz buff. I've heard all the greats. One of my favorite stories and memories is that I was at a place in the Lower East Side of Manhattan. It was called Alphabet City back then, Avenue A, B, C, and D. It was really sketchy, a lot of heroin users. It was dangerous even to go to this jazz club. It was called Slugs in the Far East. That was the name of it. It had sawdust on the floor, but they had the best jazz players. And one night I went to see Charles Mingus, the great bass player, and I was sitting at the bar, and up on the bar stool next to me slides Miles Davis. And within about 20 seconds, I'm surrounded by every person in the club. And I can't get away because I'm sort of locked in this circle. And there's me and Miles sitting next to each other. I'm nobody, and he's Miles Davis. And he talks like this. And he's doing this and doing that. It's rasping away, and I'm sitting there next to Miles Davis, and Charlie Mingus comes up, and all the dudes. And I'll never forget it because that was Miles Davis. And
so when is that episode coming out? Because I'd like to score that.
A travel escapade to a jazz club.
To New York.
Okay. Let's plan that, huh? Harry Duran's shaking his head. He's from New York. Okay, it's time for the Trules Travel Quiz. Now we have a double answer for these questions. And I hope the listening audience out there will recognize the difference in your voices, so I don't have to keep saying Amanda, Alysha. Okay, where were you born?
I was born in Torrance, California.
Los Angeles, California.
Where are you from?
I'm from Torrance, which is in Los Angeles.
Yeah, from Los Angeles too. Yeah.
I'm not going to be surprised with this answer. Where do you call home?
Los Angeles, California.
My mother's house.
Where's that?
Glendale.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's your favorite place in the world?
I think the ocean is also considered my home. So anywhere with a beach, I'm pretty happy.
I would say New Orleans, but not the place where all the tourists go. This is like in the bywater where it's really nice and mellow.
Are you a traveler?
Yes.
Of course.
What's one place that you've always wanted to go where you've never been?
I really want to go to Japan, and I plan to go when I graduate after May.
I really want to go to South Korea.
Why South Korea?
At my last college, I took a class about civilization in Korea, so it dealt with North and South. I just think their history, everything about them seems really cool. Even the North side, even though it's really bad, it seems very interesting because people still live there. But I've heard a lot of good stories of visitors coming over there, but the people themselves are just so nice. So it's an interesting culture from South and North. It's just all of that side over there is seems really interesting.
Okay. What's your favorite city?
I recently visited Seattle, and I really loved the Pacific Northwest. People were really nice, like the beautiful greenery and like the Puget Sound. It was all just really beautiful. I'd really like to go back and maybe live there one day.
Did you see a lot of rain?
I did not. I went during the summer, so I don't really know Seattle yet, but I'm open to it.
I would say Los Angeles.
Okay. What's your favorite park or non-urban place?
When I was in Bolivia, I biked down the Death Road, and that was crazy, and that was really beautiful. It was like this mountaintop. We start at like 12,000 feet above sea level, and there's a cliff beside you the entire time, and you ride down into the rainforest.
Oh, I want to go there.
Thank you for that. Also remind me, mine would be like driving up the 5 freeway, like up towards the Bay Area. It's beautiful.
You don't mean the Route 1 Pacific Coast Highway, because that 5 is sort of like, ugh.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
It's not the PCH, it's the 5. I like seeing all the weird animals of like the poor cows.
And the smell of the cows in Coachella.
Like you have to know when you're
Coalinga.
Yeah, you have to prep before you get near the cows so you can turn off the AC circulation.
You're a true Californian if you like the middle of the 5.
What's your favorite mode of transportation?
I love riding my bike.
I love my car.
Who do you like to travel with?
I like traveling with my sister because she's family, so we know each other, but we're very compatible, unlike maybe other members of my family.
I probably have to say my girlfriend. It's just, we don't have to say anything for hours and just listen to weird music, so it's really nice. I would have to talk all the time, and you get tired after like a long trip if you're taking one.
2 forks diverged in the road. Which way would you go?
The road less traveled. Anybody? We get a joke.
You can put that sound effect in for yourself and an applause too.
Thank you.
I would take the one that would lead me to achieve my dreams.
Last one. Where will you go when you die?
I think my body will stay here, but I think my consciousness will... Wait, no, that sounded way too like quantum mysticism shit right there. All right, I'm gonna back up. I think I'll be rejoined with like the one powerful force.
I'm still trying to figure that one out.
Okay. Thanks for being on the show. Thanks for doing the sound design and the music composition. I'm grateful and awestruck with your work. And thanks out there for listening to the show. Sign up and subscribe on iTunes. Happy trails and bon voyage. Original music composed by Amanda Yamate, sound design by Alysha Bermudez, produced by Harry Duran at Fullcast. please contact us with your feedback and to schedule an on-air interview. This podcast has been supported with the USC Capstone Grant. Special thanks to Phil Allen and the School of Dramatic Arts for their support.